East Podcast, WATP.
I mentioned in the last episode, Joe Matarese had Ray DeVito on and then quit podcasting. Took down all of his podcasts, all the videos, just nuked it all. And even put out a notice on his Patreon. And it says, I'm closing up shop. This is 3 days ago. He posted this on Patreon. It says, hi, everyone. I truly appreciate you all for subscribing here and supporting my podcast. I decided after doing 28 episodes of the Joe Matarese Show, it just wasn't my thing. Yes, it made me a little money, but I'm not really interested in the creative turn it took once I started doing it live. Even when I pre-recorded episodes, it just had no direction, and I didn't seem very good at it. My personality isn't nearly big enough to survive in the 2024 podcast world. When I'm feeling boring while I'm talking, that's never a good sign. My heart is telling me to just concentrate on stand-up and keep writing and creating stand-up and stand-up content. Yes, I know people have told me that, but sometimes I just have to take a swing and figure it out on my own. Stopping my podcast really will open up a lot more of my time to write comedy and, most importantly, spend more quality time with my family. I'm not sure what to do with my Patreon, ? I could add stand-up content here, ? I'm up for your suggestions since you all are donating to it. I may just close this up as well. Please write me back to voice your opinions, but please don't try to convince me to podcast because that ship has sailed. I also deleted all the episodes from everywhere it existed. It's gone from existence. Talk to you all soon, and I hope to meet you in person one day at a show.
So he knows he's talking to 12 people.
Well, we're going to find out, actually, how many people he's talking to, because the reason why I have this is because I just signed up for his Patreon. What? And he sent me a note already, which is funny. He saw that I signed up, and he sent me a note. He's just like, you really want me to come back, huh? I go, yeah, Joe, we need you, buddy. Come on. And if anybody caught Misery Loves Company yesterday, Joe Matarese pops on near the end of the show. And because they were talking about this, they're like, holy shit, he just quit podcasting and put out this notice to everyone. Don't even try to convince me. That's the funniest part about that. Right. So he goes on MLC, talks to Kevin Brennan, and this is the most recent post on his Patreon. It is, I changed my mind.
I'm opening up shop.
Hi, everyone. After talking to Kevin Brennan on his MLC podcast today, I decided to come back on the air and just do my podcast once a week. Still live, but just once a week. It may be live during the daytime when my kids are in school. Stay tuned for when it will be live weekly, Joe. So I decided to clip this. I thought we could go on an adventure together and find out how Joe came to the conclusion that he needs to come back to podcasting after saying he was definitely done.
Flashback.
He's tried so many times to podcast. He's failed every time. He's finally had enough. And so this is him explaining the issues that he has. He just cannot figure out what he's trying to do.
Your show is the right format for the StreamYard, YouTube, like you said, Mike and the Mad Dog style broadcast.
I just want to point something out. None of that made any sense. Joe doesn't even know what the fuck he's talking about. So StreamYard is the platform you use to actually stream your show and the video of it and bring guests on and stuff like that. YouTube is the platform people use to watch it. And Mike and the Mad Dog was a radio show. So I don't know what the fuck those three things.
StreamYard, YouTube, like you said, Mike and the Mad Dog style broadcast. I didn't know what kind of broadcast I wanted to do, which is a huge mistake.
I like how the producer's like, I don't know, but Kevin's like, go on.
Right, yes. Yeah, so this very quickly turns into them trying to help Joe and Joe explaining why he can't get it right and what's wrong with this.
But to just turn the cameras on and talk with my personality, it ran its course so fast that I was like, I'd rather do nothing than have just people shitting on me, you know? And like there was no regular comments coming in. It was like Joe's dunk tank. And I was like...
It's skewed negative.
No, they were regular.
Doesn't he seem like the ultimate underdog at this point?
Yes.
Yeah.
But
I kind of feel bad for him.
I would, except for the guy's in his 50s. He's been around forever, and he can never figure anything out. He's a child. And I'm going to show you that today, that he's constantly needs everyone else to help him. Remember, his show was Fixing Joe, Breaking Joe. Like, everything is about, like, hey, guys, what should I do? How do I do this? How come I can't do this? And he's so idiotic about, I just don't have the personality for it. Yeah, you need to have a personality. You know, the hosts of radio shows are called radio personalities because they have a personality, Joe. Joe's like, I'm going to be Italian today. Nope, that didn't work. Now I'm the guy from Philadelphia. You know, it's like, he's like choosing. It's like, no, you got to be you, retard. It's not the way that it works. All right. So this is Kevin's advice to Joe.
And then the crowd's going to, like, I'm just using Stuttering John. Everybody hated Stuttering John a year ago. And now he's here. And now and even if people troll him, he's still making money. And now he's starting to win over fans, probably just because he's just taking a beating and he's just taking it well. And now people are just being like, you know, Stuttering John's like you're a great comic. I can say you're a great comic. Stuttering John was great on the Howard Stern show. You're a great comic. So there's no point. There's no reason for you to not like have fans at this as well, even if they're just like trying to, you know, troll you.
So Kevin's advice is just do what Stuttering John's doing. I mean, it doesn't matter that his health is failing him and he's obviously miserable and just getting beat up every day, all day long. Do that. See how that works for you.
His advice is basically like, take your licks and maybe you'll make some money.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it.
That's basically it, because Joe was complaining that people are trolling him in the chat and they're not even giving him super chats. They're just insulting him, not even for $5. It's like, what the fuck? What's the point of this?
And he said he's a child. What the listeners don't see is how he's fidgeting around, achieving nothing with
probably
camera.
not listening. Yeah, I know.
Not listening to some sound advice about how he should just take it.
So let's find out what Joe thought the solution was going to be when he started going live. So he was doing his podcast from that studio in Manhattan. That lasted about 5 or 6 episodes. He was not going to have guests on. He was going to talk about a topic. Then immediately started having guests on. And then he decided to leave that and do it from home because it was too expensive to work with the producer. Then he's using this new software. He didn't know how to use the software. Then he saw, and this is what happens to all these fucking guys. All these guys watch Kevin Brennan, the most low effort show on the internet. Props to you, Kevin. I cannot do what you do. He puts zero work into it, zero prep, sits down, turns on the camera, and people just start giving him money. And everyone sees it and goes, I want to do that. Yeah, no shit. Looks pretty cool, doesn't it? Looks pretty fun. You bring on Chad Zubak, and the super chairs just go, Chad's a loser. And you go, yeah, he is. Thanks for the $20.
Yeah,
like,
keep it coming.
Right. Like that's a cool gig. I get it. So that's all Joe ever wanted to do, because everyone who watches MLC or goes on MLC goes, I'm going to do that. And it doesn't work out for other people. But this was his big idea here.
A better solution could be, one, you had presented it to me, which is just come on my show once a week. But when I contacted you the week after that to be on again, I didn't hear back from you. So I was like,
yeah, but that was nothing on you. I don't book in advance, so I have to kind of book. I have a lot going on.
Kevin Brennan has a lot going on. You gotta understand, I'm a very busy man. You're on the internet complaining about nonsense twice a day, Kevin. What do you mean you're busy? We see what you're up to. So his idea was, I'll just come on your show, Kevin, and promote my show. And that way we'll get people, because he was doing his show at 7 p.m. to go on after Kevin. So his whole idea was, I'll go on MLC. I'll say, hey, all you people who are giving all your money to Kevin, come over and give your money to me afterwards, and we'll do this thing. And 1 week, Kevin didn't get back to me. He was just like, well, that's out the fucking window. Never mind. That's fucking great.
I tried.
It's misleading because you see guys like Brennan and Shuley, to a certain extent, like these super chats just flood in. It's crazy. You know, so people are like, well, I want a taste of that. Yeah. Without knowing, like, well, you got to build your audience and you have to have something to offer. Like, they're not just going to give you money for the hell of it. Just ask Christian and Eric Zane.
Right, but good point. But that is what Joe thought was going to happen. He just thought, like, I'll just start doing this live and I'll read the chat and they'll provide me with the content that I need and all the money that I need and make it all work. And so this is what he thinks the problem was with his show and why it wasn't working.
One stupid mistake was, out of many stupid mistakes, was I was trying to do 4 days a week and do a show every night at 7 o'clock because it seemed like you needed to be frequent to get the people to be interested in it. And then I ran into, it was not working for my home life. Like my wife was like, what the fuck? You're up there for an hour and a half. I need you down
I'm
here.
an artist.
Right.
So it's so pathetic. Joe's getting 12 people watching him live. And then he goes, I know what I'll do. I'll go on every day for 12 people watching me live. No. You got to build something here, Joe. Do one really good show in a week, and then more people will come and watch you. He's like, no, I'll stretch it out and just be boring a lot longer and see what happens.
He thinks you got to be in it to win it.
Yeah. Well, also, and the way these guys, their model works, I'm glad we don't have the same model here on WATP, is the only way they make money is by podcasting. If they're not online, they're not making money because they have to be actively reading super chats. So all these guys who watch this as the model are just like, I'm just start doing this every single day and hope that works for me. And of course, I can't imagine what his home life is like, because Joe goes on to explain, my wife doesn't let me talk about her. I'm not allowed to talk about the kids. I'm not allowed to talk about this. I'm not allowed to talk about that. He's a child. Like I said, his wife has to scold him. Joe, what did you say on your show today? I told you. You can't do that.
She's one of the 12 watching.
Yes, probably.
Keeping tabs on him downstairs and yelling at him in real time.
She's a mod.
So this is Joe's childish behavior.
I go to you like you're my mentor in this game. And I realized after the smoke cleared, I literally I went and deleted every fucking episode from anywhere you could see them.
It was incredible.
I took every clip down.
So he rage quit. Yeah. He broke the console.
Again, like a child.
Like a child would. He's like, well, I don't want any of this stuff there. I'll just stop playing video games.
Yeah, he taps out so soon, too.
And he even explained the reason why he did that is because all the content's so bad. He didn't want the content out there. It's like you left it up there for a while now, Joe. Now you decided you didn't want that? Okay. It's really shitty for the guests. He's going to have a hard time getting guests in the future if he's rebooting this podcast.
Well, good, because he was ripping on his guests.
Oh, that was the worst.
Blaming them.
He was blaming his guests. They're so boring. These comics I'm talking to are so boring. You're boring, Joe.
Yeah.
I mean, they were boring too sometimes, but you know what I mean. All right. So now he's talking about that famous Fixing Joe episode that we recently highlighted on a bonus episode of Who Are These Podcasts, where he was in the Village Underground. He had the camera crew, he had the live band, Jim Norton, Anthony Cumia, Artie Lang. This was going to be the pilot for the TV show that was going to get picked up. He had all these great ideas.
This was going to fix him.
This was going to be the thing that did it. And
well, that's what I wanted to do with that Artie Lang, Anthony Cumia, Jim Norton pilot. I wanted to delete that, and that's what got me so mad is when the Red Bar guy took it and made it still stay alive. I was like, because I knew I stunk on it. I was like, I don't like having lots of things out there where I suck. That's my problem. Yeah. And I think the fans were correct when they said Ray DeVito doesn't mind sucking and doesn't mind people telling him.
Uh-oh.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
So Ray DeVito, the only reason why his name was brought up is because he did the show with Joe and then Joe quit podcasting. So they were speculating that Ray was I think we did the same thing, right? Is Ray the reason why he quit? But then Joe, like he always does, just decided to throw Ray DeVito under the bus right there. Mm-hmm. He just got some shrapnel for no reason at all. He's just like, I'm not like Ray DeVito, put up a bunch of shitty content and not care about it. Like, did Ray say that? I don't think Ray says that. I don't think he's talking about how his content's all shitty and he doesn't care. What the fuck? It's weird.
Brian, you still feel bad for Joe?
Not anymore. I can just imagine his wife. Yeah, if you're like up there 5 days a week podcasting and putting all this time into it, and you do have like, the wife and the kids, and you're like, well, how much did you make in super chats? And he's like, what's for dinner?
Yeah,
none of your fucking business.
I'm building something over here. It takes time. We're building it.
We're up to 12 guys.
He has no patience at all for this shit. All right. So this is my problem with Joe Matarese right here. This is what he does every time.
Well, I've said this to you before. I'm totally in for literally going, hey, Kevin, what should I do? And I'll just do it. because
That's not how.
I have
Joe. That's not how it works, Joe. No,
It will.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it would.
All you got to do is show up. Listen.
How many times a week do I got to turn the fucking thing? And what am I talking about?
Unbelievable.
I'm a lazy man.
Could you imagine? So he said that Kevin's his mentor, and he goes to him, Kevin, just write out a script of what I should say and talk about, and tell me how to say it and where to put it.
Yeah. Some jokes would help.
Yeah. Punch it up for me, too, before you send it along.
What Joe doesn't seem to understand is that, like, Brennan is the sum total of his enemies.
Yes.
Without enemies, Brennan really doesn't have that much.
No, that's why Brennan manufactures enemies. That's why he's mad at Shuley, because Mike Kelta gave out Kevin Brennan's phone number. Still, that's a head scratcher.
Doesn't piss anyone off.
I still don't understand that one. He's mad at me. He doesn't even know why he's mad at me. Something about a mandolin or something. I don't even know. But yeah, he manufactures all these enemies so that he had, Melton now, and it's just like, oh, heck, he's railing against Hackamania, because without that, he's got nothing.
Right. Like the Shuley thing sort of organically unfolded into what it became, and then he went from there with it. So what is he going to tell Matarese? Like people ask me the same thing. Some, well, how can I build a bunch of people with my podcast? And it's like, I don't know.
Yeah. Right.
Like I never tried, so I don't know. Like I had the advantage of coming in with Kevin Smith being, backing it. So it's like that's a huge boost. So I can't tell you how to do it any other way.
And honestly, people have asked me for advice, and I'm happy to give out advice on what worked for me. But I can't imagine someone going to me and going, Carl, just tell me how to podcast, what to talk about, when to put it on, how often to do it. Like, go fuck yourself. What are you talking about? Figure it out.
Yeah.
Try some shit.
Fuck you, pay me.
Yeah, see what works on that. It's so pathetic that he's just like, can you just tell me what to do? I'll just do it. I'll just do whatever you tell me to do. So,
this is a defeated guy. He's at a loss. He doesn't know what the fuck to do.
He is at a loss. And I brought it up on the show this past episode where I was talking about Artie and Dan Filato had a conversation on their podcast where Joe Matarese was this up-and-coming comic. He was amazing. He was lighting it on fire. And then he got with his wife. His wife got him on his antidepressants, anti-anxiety, got him into therapy, and he became a shell of who he used to be. And he's actually admitting that here.
I'm a way more interesting guy if I'm off my meds for podcasting, not for stand-up though, because I can tell like it takes something bad has to happen for me to even come across excited. Like right now, I have emotion while I'm talking, but normally when nothing's going on, I'm like, "Hi everybody, what are you guys doing today?" And it's like so fucking boring.
Yeah, it's a problem. You don't have a personality. And he's blaming it on the medication. He circles back around on this later on in the show.
Just do it. Just fucking do it.
Let me explain something. Here's a major factor, and you would say that's why I don't take them. When you take Celexa 20 milligrams, the antidepressant that I take to take my anxiety and my anger issues away, it's not as easy to turn on a mic and have emotion. I'm flatlined. So the last thing you want to do when you're on an antidepressant, when you don't have a strong feeling about something that you want to talk about, is be on camera and talk. You'd rather just go lay it down.
Not a good advertisement for antidepressants there.
But I've never heard of a side effect being like a lack of self-awareness.
You don't hear that a lot. Right, yeah. That's a good point. But also, isn't wanting to just go lay down, isn't that what depression is? And he's taking antidepressant medication that makes him want to just go lay down or sit in the fetal position.
That's coming from the Nap King here.
I know. What the fuck is wrong?
I've taken a host of anti-anxiety, antidepressant drugs, and when you find out that that's what they do to you, you switch to a different drug.
Yeah. I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, this isn't working for you, Joe. You're not living your life. You're not enjoying your life right now. This is bad, what you're doing. And his wife's making him do it. Seems like.
He should start doing coke. Just go the other way and just turn the cameras on and see what happens.
The Brian Karam. Yeah, I got you on that. So this is, again, Joe's just a baby and just needs adults to walk him through his life and tell him how to do stuff.
You mean these guys?
Well, no, professionals as well.
Oh, okay.
My therapist has been off duty in my life for a month. This Monday will be the first time in a month. I so need him for this whole situation right now.
You don't.
You don't.
You can act like a man. What the fuck is wrong with this guy? He's just like, I'm just reeling. I haven't talked to my therapist in a month, and I'm on all this medication. It's like, Joe, you're such an old man at this point. Yeah. How are you not figuring this out? I want to take
at the same time, Kevin Brennan dispensing advice. Like, no, you don't. Like,
well, right. Yeah, I know.
I don't know. I'd listen to him either.
I would listen to Kevin, but all my experiences with personalities who go to therapy too much doesn't end well. It usually makes them boring and awful.
Joe has the mentality of an old guy who was forced into retirement. Like he had to leave his job. And then he doesn't have hobbies, so he doesn't know what to do with himself. Oh. But it's like his career ended. What, he's in his 50s, right?
Yeah.
So when he met his wife, like this all started going downhill. Now he just doesn't have what he needed to do stand up, to do podcasts, to do all of this stuff. And he's just trying to find anything else to kind of justify him existing.
That's a very good call. The guy needs a hobby.
Yeah.
He even talks about how he was taking up golfing for a while, but he wasn't very good at it, so he quit. He's not good at something, he quits.
I wasn't instantly good at it, so I quit.
He needs something to suit his childish fucking personality.
Yeah.
Maybe he should take up Disney.
He should babysit.
Take his kids to Disney once a week or something.
Right.
It might be expensive. I don't know. Well, it turns out, though, that Joe Matarese has a huge fan base that he should be able to monetize, as Kevin explains to him here.
And you already have this huge fan base. I mean, if you add up all the views from the 3 Portland documentaries, we're talking about 500,000 views probably at this point. So it's like, I mean, it's substantial interest in you is my point.
I get it. I would just have to find what's a happy.
You don't have to find anything.
All right. So Kevin's explaining to him that there's 3 different documentaries that Porcelain made about what a loser Joe Matarese is. They're very popular. They've been watched by a lot of people. They talk about it a lot. And so Kevin's whole thing is like, you're already a lolcow. Just go on the internet and let them take cracks at you for $5 and $10 at a time. What's the problem here? And Joe's just like, that's kind of not what I'm looking for in my career. I don't want to just get beat up all the time.
I love how this is playing out.
I wanted to dive into that head first.
Yes.
Well, that's why I wanted to show you guys how we responded to this first, so you can see how we got there. This whole, I've changed my mind. I'm going back into podcasting after talking to Kevin Brennan. Kevin's always telling him, is just like, dude, just milk the hatred. That's what Stuttering John's doing. You can actually make a living just reading insults all day. And Joe's like, oh, reading insults. Okay.
It's like putting out a suicide note and then said, yeah, I changed my mind. I'm not going to do this. But thank you for your thoughts and prayers. Keep praying for me.
And again, though, Stuttering John didn't just like step out into the world and suddenly he is who he is today.
Correct.
It's like, it was only because you went after him and it was developed over years.
Yes.
That he became the lolcow that's able to make money on the internet. Like Matarese doesn't have that. So he like, it might not even be interesting enough to make fun of the guy.
And Brian,
super chats.
I don't know. He has potential, and John's not long for this world. So I do think Joe has potential.
Yeah, there's going to be an opening.
Maybe you should be his therapist. Joe, you have potential to be a lolcow.
We can do this together.
You'll make so much money.
All right. Do you know about Kiwi Farms, Joe?
Yes.
All right. Let's pull this up. Let's start.
If you're not going to grow a pair, can you be more pathetic?
Yes, right.
Pick a direction.
Here's a personality for you. Pathetic.
Can you sit in front of a dresser every time?
Yeah, wear that for a while. Let's see what happens. All right. So now they're actually telling him what to do on his show. They go, here's an idea. Why don't you watch the porcelain documentaries on your show and react to them? People would be very interested to see your reaction to these docs.
My problem is I couldn't figure out how to even show the documentary and put myself picture in picture on top of it so I could stop the doc and then start it again.
We got to get you on StreamYard, buddy. That's the way.
Do you see Adam's reaction?
yes.
Adam's going, Jesus Christ, we have to do fucking everything here, Joe. You can't figure out that?
To do it, you know that. Like,
well, any platform you're using, there's screen share. It's not.
It's easy. I can do it. If I can do it, it's easy. I'm not even being like fake humble.
Yeah. You can use Zoom. You can use anything. A Google video. Like anything will let you do that.
That's so embarrassing.
It's crazy. And he was talking about how he was paying for, I forget the software he was paying for to do his streaming. But I'm sure that has the capability, obviously, because everything does. But
it's
also,
called Ecamm.
What is it called?
Ecamm he was using. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So he talks about how he was using Ecamm, and he goes, "Yeah, I canceled that immediately." So like during this rage quit thing, where he goes on Patreon, he's like, "I'm done with this. I'm not doing it anymore."
I suck because of you.
That's the other funny thing too. Oh, we'll get to it in a second. I think that's coming up here. So yeah, this is the next clip that I want to talk about is his Patreon specifically, because they're kind of like curious. Well, what are you doing on Patreon then? Like, what do people get for being on Patreon? And I think he says
nudes.
I don't know if it's in this clip or not.
Feet pics.
Feet pics. I don't know if it's in this clip or not. But I think he says that he gives out free tickets to his comedy shows. This is like the Stuttering John, I'll buy you a pub if I'm ever in your town.
He
or I'll
papers
buy you
his
a beer.
Patreon.
Yeah, right. Yes.
Oh, all right then. Well, I was only promising like free tickets to shows and stuff.
And how many people are on your Patreon?
Not a lot. But
Less than 50?
Oh yeah.
All right.
Don't worry about
It's
it.
not that big of a deal.
Even if they all show up at your house, you'll be fine.
He's worried about pissing off the Patreon supporters by quitting podcasts. They're like, well, how many people are we talking about? Less than 50? He's like, oh, yeah.
I'm really enjoying Kevin right now.
Much less than 50. And he mentioned that Mike David, Red Bar, signed up for his Patreon right after he sent out the note saying he's quitting podcasting. And of course, I just did too to get these notes. So he's seeing like me and Mike David, and we're all just like, yeah, get back into podcasting. You can do it, Joe.
He's having a Patrick Michael moment.
Yes. We're here for you, buddy.
Yeah, we need you.
So I'm watching this show, and I'm annoyed that Joe Matarese does this every fucking time. Tell me what to do. Tell me how to do it. I don't know what to do. I need an adult to tell me what to do. So I super chatted him. And Kevin gets so triggered when he sees me. He is not a fan of me.
What time is it?
He invited his wife over.
Yeah, it's getting late.
Oh, who are these podcasts are here? What are we doing?
Is this the real one?
Looks
I
like
think
it.
it is.
I'm gonna check.
Joe turns every show into fixing Joe. Yawn. Okay, thank you. Who are these podcasts? You mean watching Stuttering John some more? Yawn. Double yawn. Let's talk about Point Dabble Point and Stuttering John. What is he up to now? Nothing, but let's do another 5 hours on him. Got it.
That's pretty rich coming from Kevin, who talks about the same topics every show. And now he's actually watching clips, all the things he used to make fun of.
How did you recover from double yawn?
How did I recover from got it? It's pretty brutal right there.
Who are these podcasts?